All right, well, it's 12:05. We have 145 registered. That's, I think, sufficient. We should get the show started. My name's Ken Pope, as most of you know already. My practice specializes in wills, trusts, estates, taxes, guardianship. Um, we do about 13 things, and these are solely things that are services needed by my clientele, who are almost all families with kids with special needs or disabilities. I think most of you taking part here probably already know that. I'd like to introduce Janet Flynn. Some time ago, perhaps a year ago, I happened to come across Prosper Canada's Wayfinder Benefits. And what it is, it's a program that you can walk through, very detailed, very deep, very specific. And what it does is it takes a profile of a given person and tells them what it's possible that they could perhaps qualify to have as supports. And then takes that extra step, which I think is critical. And that is not just telling you what you could get, but taking you to a link where you can actually apply for the benefits and see what it is that's required to apply. That for me, that's the chemistry part. Janet's a manager for Prosper Canada for program delivery, or as I said last night, she's the person at the pointy end of the stick. Because if you don't deliver programs, what is it you're getting paid to do, right? Confabulate. You can talk all you want and do reports and essays and commission studies and all that stuff, but that's just not how the way we run our practice, and that's not the way any business runs. You have to have something that people need and want and are prepared to interact with you. I'd also you'll find this, you as individuals watching will of course find this very valuable, but I'd like to invite you on Janet's behalf. Once you receive the recording and the PowerPoints and so on, there'll be a link to Wayfinder, and then there will also be Janet's email address. So if you'd like to contact her and perhaps set up a presentation for one or more of the organizations that you're involved with, she would certainly entertain that. So I invite you to spread the word. And similarly, when you receive the recording, all I ask is that since we're presenting this information without charge, that you share it with others with no charge to get the word around. Now, Janet has shared her slides. Can everyone see the slides? I trust they can. Let's just see what people are saying. I presume you can. So Janet, if you'd like to take it away and talk, but you talked for about an hour last night, and then about 15 or 20 minutes of questions.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. So
Okay.
thank you,
And
Ken.
I'll mute and cut my video as I did last night.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining today. I really appreciate being able to share our tools that will help you and your families or anyone else you know find what benefits are out there that you might not be aware of, and to find out how, in a very easy way, to find out how to apply for them. So let me tell you first a little bit about Prosper Canada. You might not be aware of us. We were founded back in the mid-'80s, and we're a national charity dedicated to expanding economic opportunity for Canadians living in poverty or people living on moderate to low incomes. And we do that through program and policy innovation. And we work with organizations in all sectors. And what we want to do is make sure that anyone has access to products, services, and advice that can help them improve their financial well-being. But our primary focus is people living on low and moderate incomes, or people in vulnerable populations. So for my presentation today, what I'm going to do is take you through the Benefit Wayfinder and the Disability Benefits Compass tools that were co-developed with Prosper Canada with other partners, which I'll tell you about. What the goals of these tools are and what kind of benefits you'll find in them. And then what I'm going to do is to demonstrate how to use it and how easy it is to use. I'm going to use a persona. And we're going to walk through using the Benefit Wayfinder with that persona, and you could see how you yourself or your family member, or if you're helping somebody else to look for benefits, how you would do that. And then also, just suggest how you can share the tools with others. At the end, I'll just do a very brief introduction to two other tools that were co-developed with Prosper Canada and Plan Institute, the RDSP Calculator and the Future Planning Tool. And as Ken said, we'll definitely leave time at the end for your questions. But if there's any questions I can't answer, or if we don't get to, you can always send them to us, because at the end, I'll show you a dedicated email that is specifically for the Benefits Wayfinder. So you might ask, so why did you create these tools? Like, can't you go to the websites of the government and, provincial and federal and find these? You can, but there's three main reasons why these were created. The first one was missed income. So even though those benefits are out there for people to go to and look at and access, a lot of the income, almost $2 billion a year, which is really shocking, is not getting to the people that those benefits were designed for. There's a number of different reasons. It could be that, people are just not aware that they're there, so they don't know what they don't know in terms of what to look for. Also, too, a lot of the benefits, especially the disability benefits, are complex processes. So they take, many steps to complete the application process. It's lengthy from start to finish on when you might get approved or denied. You have to have medical practitioners, maybe more than one, to complete certain elements of the application form. And the people that we worked with to develop the Disability Benefits Compass, which were people living with a disability, said, that they heard from other people that, it's just so exhausting and traumatizing that they just didn't even want to even start the process. Also, too, there's an individual need for people to be able to do a search, and also frontline. And by frontline, I mean community organizations that work with people who are looking for help to find benefits or have any particular financial requirements. So for these reasons, these tools were created. So the Benefits Wayfinder, there's the unfortunately, I can't put it into the chat, or into the questions, but there it is there if you happen to be wanting to put it in for yourself. That's the link to it. It's an online tool or website. And like I said, it's focused on Canadians living on low and modest incomes, but really it could be for anyone, because a lot of the benefits in it are really applicable for not just those audiences. The key to this one is that it's very simple. It has very intuitive navigation, so it's user-friendly to use. You can use it as a virtual guide. So some of the organizations that we work with said, they use it for their staff to get up to speed on benefits quickly, or just as like a guide to, if they don't remember a particular detail about a benefit, they can go to it and look it up and have it at their fingertips. It's also been written in plain language. It has information that is on federal, provincial, and territorial government benefits. And it is a one-stop resource. So whereas you could go to the government websites, and I'm sure you will anyway for the application part of it, this is all putting all of those in one spot. So one of the benefits we heard from people who were testing it in our testing phase, where, I didn't have to kind of go to multiple web pages or websites to try to find, all these benefits. You have them all in this one spot to find. And as I mentioned, it can be used by individuals by themselves, or it can be used by, you helping a family member, or it can be used by community organizations that are supporting clients with getting access to benefits. And I'd just like to thank our TD Bank, who is our primary sponsor for the Benefits Wayfinder. And also it was supported as well generously by Maple Leaf Feed Opportunity as well. So I'm going to introduce you to Calvin, and Calvin is our persona that I'm going to use to walk through the Benefit Wayfinder to find benefits that he may be eligible for. So Calvin lives in Newfoundland. He's 65 years of age and he's married. He's the father of 2 adult children, and one of those children is living with a disability and is living at home with his parents. He's a citizen of Canada and he recently retired. Together, his wife and himself has a household income just under 60,000 a year. He makes sure he keeps up to date in filing his taxes, which I'm sure a lot of you know is very important because a lot of the benefits that are available, you must first have your taxes filed because either it's an automatic assessment by the government when you file your taxes, or you have to file your taxes and then there's a subsequent application. So very important to file taxes. And he's also wondering if he's receiving all of the benefits that he might be eligible for. He does receive some and he thinks he's good, but he'd kind of like a checkup to see, hey, is there any that I'm just not aware of that potentially I could be getting? So I'm going to go over to the Benefit Wayfinder and take you through a little orientation of the home page, and then we'll go through and look up benefits for Calvin. So the first thing you're going to see is a pop-up if you go in for the very first time, where you can select your province or territory. And in this particular persona, we said that Calvin lives in Newfoundland and Labrador, so we're going to select that. But you can also select it from the top right-hand corner. You'll see the drop-down as well. And it's also available in English and French if you want to switch to your preferred language. There's an agency portal, which if we have time, I'll show you this, but this is geared towards community organizations because it has a lot of extra information on there, like training and templates that they can use for, creating budgets. But as well, you could take a look if you're using it as an individual, because there's lots of good templates as well. We have down at the bottom right-hand corner, and this is on every single screen, is a little need help button. And what we have in here are organizations that have said, hey, you know what, I can help you, and I can help, if you have any questions or need to have any navigation with benefits, and we do it free of charge. So we're continually adding to this list, but if you go there, or also on the far right here on the menu, you'll see here that it has a list of organizations that have said that they can help. You'll also see on this Getting Help page, this is the dedicated email I was referring to that'll go directly to my department who oversees the Benefit Wayfinder. So you can send questions or any, if you see benefits that we don't have that you think would be good to include, we can take a look at it and add it. And just to say that the benefits that we put in here either increase income or decrease expenses. That's our criteria, because as you know, there's probably many, many more benefits that are out there. But if it doesn't have that criteria, we don't include it in here. But we are doing a pilot this year to see about including municipal and local benefits, because the feedback that we've been receiving of people using it is they'd love to see that next level down benefits. So that's something that we're working to see how we can do that best and efficiently. There's also a little video that people can watch that talks about the Wayfinder, and it's also available in ASL. You'll see there's a little box here that talks about viewing the disability benefit compass. So I'm going to show you that next, but if you wanted to go to it, you can go to it here or within some of the benefits that are in the Wayfinder. So here, there's 4 different ways that you can search for benefits. And this is a little bit more than on the government site. There's a questionnaire, but we have 4 ways that you can do it to make it suit what you're looking for. The very first way is starting points. And these are like, situations in your life or life milestones, if you will, that, say you just had a child and you're like, I wonder what kind of benefits are available for that. You can select caring for a child, and it'll just show you benefits that are related to that particular topic. Same with caring for an adult. If you have a family member or a parent or a child that you are responsible to care for, you can look and see what benefits might be available there. And then you can see, I won't go through them all, but you can see there's a long list here of different types of scenarios. And if you think of there's any particular scenario that we don't have that you think would be beneficial to include, that's something we can take a look at and potentially add. There's also information on filing your taxes, because as I said, a lot of the benefits require filing of taxes first. So this will take you to a link that will show you, where you can go for free tax filing through the CBITP program and other information relating to tax filing. Another way to search for benefits is already receiving benefits. So as I mentioned, Calvin might think, well, I think I might be receiving everything that I can get. I'm not quite sure. So he can do a checkup by going through and taking a look at this section to see what benefits there are, and then seeing, if I already have that, like, am I missing any others? Because there are benefits that we call gateway benefits, which means that if you get that benefit, it unlocks the gate to go through and look and potentially get more benefits, but you have to have that initial benefit first. So just as an example, the disability tax credit is one of these such benefits. So let's say Calvin has just gone and gotten the disability tax credit benefit or certificate, and he says, yeah, I have that one, so I'm good. But if he clicks yes here, it's going to say, you know what, this could unlock 5 more benefits that you may or may not be aware of. And it's going to tell you which benefits, after having the disability tax credit certificate, you may be able to get. And then each one of these will link to the information on that particular benefit. So that's the second way that you can search for benefits. The third way is just to browse all the benefits in here. I think we have over, 350 benefits in here. So you can do, on the left, there's a filtering system. So you could say, I'm only interested in BC benefits. So it's going to give you absolutely all of the BC benefits that are in here. Or say, I want to see BC benefits and any federal benefits. And you can do that, and it's going to add in any federal benefits. So there's many pages, as you can see. I'm just going to put it back to Newfoundland for Calvin. But then you can also just search, like, say you heard someone said something about, hey, you know what, there's this benefit that you might be interested in, call it disability tax credit certificate, and you don't know anything about it. You can just go in and search, and you'll find it here to take a look at. So that's the third way that you can search for benefits. And the fourth way, which is the one I'm going to show you today, which is the one I kind of personally prefer if you have the time, is the questionnaire, because this is going to give you a lot more of a customized listing of benefits geared towards your situation. Now, it's not all encompassing. We have 13 questions. When we were testing it out, people didn't really want to be answering a whole lot of questions, so we kept it at the 13 number. You can skip any that you don't want to answer. But the most important part about this is that we do not store any personal information in the tool. So there's no fear of, data being hacked or anything like that. So I'm going to go through the questionnaire for Calvin, and you can imagine if you're doing this for yourself or if you're helping somebody else do this, you can see how user-friendly it is. So the first question is, are you up to date in filing your taxes? So Calvin said, yep, he does that every year, and he's up to date. And how old is Calvin? And we said Calvin was 65 years old. And what is your citizenship? And you can see that there's quite a lot of options here, and that's very important because some benefits, it really is dependent on what your citizenship is. In Calvin's case, he's a Canadian citizen. And are you working? And where does your income come from? And again, many, many different options, and you can check all that apply because you might have more than one source of income. So in Calvin's case, we said that he retired. How much money does everyone in your household together make in 1 year? And this is important because some of the benefits will ask, what is your household income versus what is your individual income? So Calvin had said he earns just under 60,000. So the 55 to 65 range. And including yourself, how many people live in your home? So it was Calvin and his spouse and his one adult child. And you care for any children under 18 years of age. And Calvin's child is an adult, so no. And are you or is anyone in your household living with a disability? And so, yes, Calvin's son is living with a disability. And where do you live and what is your home situation? And in Calvin and his spouse's case, they own their own home. And there's nobody in their household expecting a child. And Calvin and his spouse have lived in Canada all their lives, so more than 20 years. And are you or your parent or spouse a Canadian veteran? And this question's in here because there are specific benefits for Canadian veterans, but in Calvin's case, they are not. And do you have a spouse or parent who had lived in Canada and passed away? No. And this question's in here because there's benefits that have survivor benefits to them. So it's important if you did, it'll show you those kind of benefits. Now you can preview what you've input, and you can also edit. If you've made a mistake or you want to change your answer, you can do that. At the very bottom, once you've finished, then you can submit. And so a great job for Calvin. He's Benefit Wayfinder based on what he input into the questionnaire. There's 21 recommended benefits. And by recommended, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be eligible for all these, but just based on his situation, these are ones that fit his situation. So we're going to go to what's called a dashboard. And there's going to be occasionally a pop-up, which is a little, hey, make sure you check this out first. So in this particular case, we're saying that, these benefits were found, you may be eligible based on your answers, but, you'd have to go through the eligibility criteria to confirm. And if it was someone who doesn't have an immigration status or has a temporary status in Canada, it's really highly recommended that you speak with a lawyer first, because you may or may not be able to apply for certain benefits until you get a status in Canada. And if you did need any, for people who might be living on very low income, there is a link to where you can get free legal services. So I'm just going to take you through the dashboard and show how you would read what's on this dashboard. First thing I'm going to talk about is this first top line. So before you even do anything, if you say, okay, I've got my list, but I don't have time really right now to take a look at it, you have options to save it. So one is that you can download it as a PDF document to your computer. You can just print it out. Or what I like is you can save my session. And so remember we said we don't save any personal information on here. As you see, the questions that we ask don't ask for any private personal information. But what you can do is you can save the URL. So if you were to go out of this and you didn't come back in and you have a new URL, you don't necessarily want to have to do the questionnaire all over again. So you can copy this particular URL and then email it to yourself, or if you're doing this on behalf of somebody else, you can email it to them. And what it'll do is it's going to send an email and it'll have that URL. And so when you click on that URL from the email, it's going to take you right back to this dashboard as you see it, with all of these 21 recommended benefits. So it's another way to, save it and not have to redo your questionnaire. If you were in the same browser and let's say you were going to be helping someone else, or you do it for a different family member, you have to make sure to clear my session, or else while you're still working within the browser, it'll keep keeping this list here. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to show you first these benefits for Calvin. So on the left-hand side here, it's like a little legend, which is keeping track of your review of what's in this list. And right here is the all 21. So that's everything that we've said that's come back as a potential benefit for Calvin to check out. When you go into each individual benefit, there's a little button that says interested. So if you were going to go out and come back another time, you could just go straight to the ones you're interested in reviewing. It's going to keep track here, and I'll show you that in a minute. This again is the total list. And as you remember, when I earlier showed you the disability disability tax credit certificate, I had clicked it that we had already had it. So it's remembered that and put it under benefits I'm already receiving. and then we haven't removed any. If Calvin was to go in and say, I absolutely, this one's not for me and I don't want to see it on my list anymore, you can remove it and it'll take it away from the full list. But if you ever wanted to go back to it and clicked removed, you will be able to see it. So now I'm just going to take you through what you'll see for each benefit. So the disability, let me just go back to our full list, and you'll see that they're all there. So the disability tax credit, it'll tell you what kind of benefit is right above it, whether it's a federal or provincial or territorial budget. And if you've clicked you're receiving it, it's going to show here as you see receiving already. But each benefit will have a little priority. So if you have a big list and you're like, I don't want to tackle them all at once, I think I'm just going to look first at the ones that are, going to give me the most money or they're the easiest to complete. So you can reprioritize as high, and then up here and sort by, you can either sort by priority if you've gone through and marked them by priority, or you can just say, nah, just give them to me alphabetically. Or if you're someone who hasn't filed your taxes yet, you can say, okay, tell me the ones, just show me the ones first and prioritize the ones that don't require any tax filing, because I just haven't gotten to that yet. Or on the flip side of that, if you have not filed your taxes and you think, is it worth me filing my taxes? You can go to tax filing required, and it's going to list the ones that you require tax filing to get them. And then there might be ones in there that have a really good income or expense savings that you think, okay, you know what? I think it's worth filing my taxes to get, to apply for this particular benefit. So those are the different ways you can sort a long list of benefits. So just looking at a benefit, and I'll take the disability tax credit as our example. You're just going to have this one little, landing page here, which just gives you a little description of what it is, and approximately how much money you might get in your pocket or save, and it'll have a little description here of whether it's a complex or easy application. We used to have moderate, but we found that most of them ended up being judged as either complex or easy. So those are the two criteria. And complex just means that there's more than one step involved and could take you having to get more documentation for the application form. Whether it's tax filing required or not, and identification required. And it'll tell you, at a minimum, what you would need to have to apply. And so if we take a look at the link here, it's going to take us to more detail on this benefit. So again, you still have your little description up here and your little warnings, and then which benefits this one could lead to if you get it. And all of the links are live links, meaning they're going to go to the source document. So the disability tax credit link here is going to take you to the government disability tax credit site, where you would actually find the applications. If the benefit is in the disability benefits compass, which I'll show you next, you can say, oh, I think I'll go take a look at it in the compass, and this will link you to the compass. And I'll go into a little bit more detail in a minute, but the compass is more of a deep dive on 4 key disability benefits, with really detail on the step-by-step application process with tips and hints and frequently asked questions. So it's a lot more of a deeper dive, and that was it was deemed to be needed because of the fact that disability benefits are that much more difficult to apply for. Each benefit will have what the eligibility is, with the links, of course, your identification, and then the steps to apply. Again, this links will go to exactly the spot at the government sites, or provincial or federal, where you need to apply. And so if I go back to the dashboard and say, okay, let's assume now, like, maybe Calvin's done it and now he wants his wife to go through this, then you would clear my session if you're using the same browser. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes. And then you'll see you're back to the home screen. The questionnaire will be blank and the dashboard will be blank. So you can start all over again. So that's the Benefit Wayfinder. I know I've gone through that pretty quickly, but hopefully when you get the link, you can go and try it out for yourself and see if there's any benefits that you maybe just haven't heard about. or it could be a really good checkup to say, yep, I'm happy. I'm receiving all the ones that currently are available and I'm entitled to. So as I mentioned, the disability benefits are rather complex for those on our session today who might have applied or helped somebody else apply. It can be pretty onerous. I've actually helped two family members get the disability tax credit certificate, which I have to say was actually a very nice and smooth because the government has worked on a number of their benefits to make the process a lot smoother, and it was. But there are individuals, especially individuals who may not have access to a computer, or individuals who have, maybe multiple disabilities that are on their own and don't have someone to help them. It can still be a very difficult process. So the first thing you'll see again when you go in the very first time is to select your province or territory. So I'm going to continue with Calvin and select Newfoundland and Labrador. Again, you'll see it looks very similar in look because it's a companion tool to the compass, or sorry, to the Wayfinder. But you still have your drop down at the top right-hand corner to select your province or territory. You can do English and French. But one thing that's different is it has light and dark mode. And this was one of the recommendations and features that the people with disabilities and the staff that we worked with to create this tool had suggested. So just a little bit of background, the Disability Benefit Compass tool was co-developed from start to finish with Disability Alliance BC and Plan Institute, and we had evaluators throughout helping us with the process, SRDC, and we also had 56 people living with a disability of multiple different types of disabilities who worked with us throughout the end-to-end process as well to develop this tool. And really they were giving their personal experience having applied for benefits, and then the staff, of course, working with people helping them get benefits on what they said they needed to help them. So if they were such that they could do it themselves, this tool is what would help them best understand the benefits and apply for the benefits. And then if it's someone who's helping somebody else, again, it's a nice tool to sit with them to help them with, or even just to have them be aware of the benefits before they get someone to help them. And this tool was totally reviewed by an external accessibility firm to make sure that it was fully accessible. So again, it's similar, it's going to have a little description. And as I mentioned, it only has 4 key benefits. And the reason for this is it was, through the course of development, we were debating on whether to include every disability benefit in here, but it was deemed, at a minimum, people need to know about these 4 key disability benefits. Get those first if you're eligible, and then you can go back to the Benefit Wayfinder and you can take a look at disability support for any other benefits that are related to disability. So we're only going to be focusing, as you see, if you go back to the compass, on those 4 key ones. So if someone comes in and says, Janet, I've already got those 4, that's absolutely fantastic. Go to the Wayfinder and see if there's any others that you could get. And of course, anywhere where you're going to see a blue box, it's a notice to read this first. And in this particular case, and this holds true for the Wayfinder as well, if you're an Indigenous people, you would need to go to your administration or your band or your governing body first, because a lot of the administration will have their own process for applying for disability benefits. So you don't want someone to go through the process here and then only to find out later that they would have had to have gone through their own administration or bands process. That is something we're piloting this year, is to find out how to better put Indigenous resources into the tools. So that's a future thing we hope to add. Again, there's a video with ASL as well, and also written instructions on how to use the site. But let's get down to the key disability benefits. So again, an important information, and this is something that I'm sure you're all aware of. It's in the news almost almost once a week or multiple times a week about how it's difficult for people to find a doctor. And especially for people living with a disability who needs a doctor who knows them, knows their history, knows the impact to their daily living, which is what is required to be, articulated well on the forms so that they get adjudicated properly. But if someone does not have a doctor or nurse practitioner, which is sadly a high number, this link will take you to a list by province and territory where they can search for a doctor or nurse practitioner. So the four benefits that everyone's going to see is whatever the income support or disability unique benefit is for their particular province or territory. So in this case, it's the income support benefit for Newfoundland and Labrador. They're going to see the Canada Pension Plan disability benefit, or in Quebec, they'll see the Quebec Pension Plan disability benefit. They'll see the disability tax credit certificate, and they'll see the registered disability savings plan. So that's the four that everyone will see for their own individual province or territory. What's unique too about this site is we have what's called resource cards, which is not in the Wayfinder. And these are resources that our partners or the people with disabilities we worked with either know about or have developed themselves with other partners. And I should mention that across Canada, this was developed for British Columbia as the test, and it was successful enough that we spread it across all of Canada. So we've held help from experts in each province and territory saying, hey, here's what we use, or here's some tools that would be helpful for people. So you can see here that there's all these different things, like what happens if your DTC application is denied? What should I do? And sadly, and I think it's getting better, but that seems to be a common theme that people almost tell each other, expect to be denied the first time or the second time or the third time. So what do you do to try to have that prevented? Here's a really neat one I like to highlight is the sample letter to your doctor. So sometimes the doctor may not feel comfortable of, how to articulate your impact to daily living. So this is a tool that you can go through that's free, that was developed by Disability Alliance BC, where you can go in and step by step answer questions that will print out at the end a beautiful form that describes the impacts to your daily living that you can hand over to your doctor and help them complete the form. So there's a lot of really neat resources that you can have access to. So I'm just going to show you the disability tax credit as an example, because this is one that a lot of people, could be eligible for, but just don't apply for, or maybe are just not aware of. And from the early documentation I've seen on the new Canada disability benefit, it looks like they may be using the disability tax credit as a criteria for that benefit. So if someone, that has a disability that hasn't looked at this as a potential, please have them take a look at it to see if they're eligible. So it's going to give a little description of what it is. Again, the important information before you proceed, you got to have a doctor or nurse practitioner to complete the medical form. And then it's going to have the introduction, eligibility, the steps to apply, what do you do after you apply, and then an accumulation of all the frequently asked questions and resources throughout the apply section. So let's get started. And again, it's going to have a little warning box. This could take you several months to complete from start to finish. And then it's going to have those value added information. It's essentially a brain dump from our partners and the experts who've gone through this before on what they have seen when they've helped people get the disability tax credit certificate. What kind of questions come up right at the beginning, and what are the answers? So we've essentially just taken all of their knowledge and put it into this website. So it goes through all the different kind of questions. And then eligibility. It'll have links, of course, to the government sites to have the actual definition, but we do have a glossary up the top here that accumulates all of the key words that someone might need to know what it means as you encounter through the application stage. That's all up in the glossary here, as well as the resources. Any question at this point? any tips that they can pass along, and of course, what resources at this step might be helpful. Then the apply is done in a really easy step-by-step format. And you can see there's just 5 steps here. And if someone's already started, they can skip down to where they left off. But we'll just start at the beginning. And the first one is, do you have the T2201 to fill out and sign? Yes, we'll just keep moving you along the steps. No, or I'm not sure, will take you to the next step. So if you answered no, then it's going to tell you all the different ways that you can get a T2201 form with the links to the actual sites and where you can get help as well. So you can request a copy from Disability Alliance BC as an example. If you're Indigenous, you can go to the BCANs. So it'll give you links to those sources. It'll also give any tips that they've recommended for certain sections of the form that they think is key. And then again, any frequently asked questions. So I'm just going to skip ahead to after you apply in the interest of time. And again, after you apply, like, what to expect? What should I do? How long is it going to take? What happens if I'm approved? Am I just done, or is there anything I need to do? So it's going to give you some key things to think about after you've applied. But then unfortunately, if you've been denied, what should you do? Because from what we found in our research was that a lot of people just stop after they've been denied. It was so exhausting to that point that they decided, I just can't go through that again and I'm not going to continue. But, the message here is that, please don't stop if you've been denied. It doesn't mean it's the end of the road. And, it'll give you options for what you can do if you've been denied. And also, where can you go for help if you need help with your application or your objection, if you want to file an objection, how to do that. And again, as I said, it's going to accumulate the frequently asked questions and the resources for that particular benefit. And that's the compass. So I thought maybe, Ken, we could stop there if there's any questions before I introduce briefly the other 2 tools, if you like, or if you prefer, I can just finish off the other 2. Do you have a preference? Nope, I'm not sure if Ken can hear me, but what I'm going to do is
There we go.
oh, there you are.
And I'm just trying to get my video back. It doesn't seem to want to give it to me.
Oh, that's okay. Would you like me just to finish off the last 2 and then go for
I
questions?
think so, because I've been going through the chat and answering things, and
Perfect.
some of them related to Wayfinder, but a lot of them, as last night, weren't quite related.
Right. Okay, that sounds great. So what I'm going to do now is take you all through 2 more tools. And again, as I mentioned, Plan Institute is kind of the creator, along with some help from other partners, including Prosper Canada, and they also manage these. But just so you're aware of them, if you're not already, the first one is a tool called the RDSP Calculator. And this one can help Canadians who have disabilities or their parents calculate their benefit entitlements using this tool. So this website itself is fantastic because it has a lot of resources for you. But if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a little tutorial that you can take to find more about the RDSP. There's the calculator, which I mentioned. And there's also a downloadable guide to help you manage your RDSP. And it's all done in a step-by-step manner as well. But the calculator, just to show you quickly, it's a free one. And similar to the Wayfinder, you just have to complete the sections that you see here. And there's always like a little pop-up that will tell you, if you're not sure what to put in there, it'll help you decide what you need, what kind of information you need to populate. And it just goes through, and when you do the calculation, it's going to give you that report. So just mentioning that is something that would be helpful. And again, it's Plan Institute that you can, if you have any questions on it, you can go to them to ask. And then the last one I was going to show you again is Plan Institute, and this is the future planning tool. And this one is also for families or individuals to help plan for those who are living with a disability to simplify the process for them in looking into the future and what steps to take and making sure that there's financial security for that individual. And so you can just go through a little description of how this works. This is the plan itself, start my plan. And then this will show you the different types of planning topics. And I'm just going to put here, it'll tell you these type of planning topics that you might be interested in. So I just wanted to just show you that just so you're aware of these, that they exist. So I think that's it, Ken, if anyone would like to, if anyone has any Benefit Wayfinder questions, or if you'd like to proceed with the other questions, that's great.
Oh, the mute here. There. Can you hear me there?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. We've had a number of questions. A lot of them are not Wayfinder related.
Okay, so maybe I'll stop sharing, and then if we need to flip back to the Wayfinder, I can do that.
Well, I think what's happened is you've done a really superlative job. The presentation not was clear to me. I'll see if there's any Wayfinder related questions here. Just a sec.
Sure. But like Ken said at the beginning, if you do have any questions as you actually get a chance to go into the tools, please feel free to reach out at that dedicated email or to my email.
Karen says, "Wow, this is really amazing, Janet."
Ah, fantastic. Thank you for that feedback. Oh, I should also mention, which I forgot, to keep it current and accurate, we do 2 times a year, one in total full depth of every single benefit, a review to ensure that all the links are current, the information's current, the benefit still exists, and if there's any new benefits. But throughout the year, if we monitor news in terms of any new benefits that are coming out provincially, territorially, or federally, and we'll add those in. Or if you yourself, I've had people say, hey, you know what, there's this benefit I don't see in there, and I think it would be great. We'll take a look at it, and if it meets that criteria of increasing income or decreasing expenses, then we'll add it in. So many different sources to make sure that the information is accurate and up to date.
Well, we've got a lot of questions, but they're not Wayfinder related. They're all ODSP and RDSP, and which is what happens
Oh,
with a lot
no
of it.
worries.
When we're doing our annual update webcast, a lot of the chat questions are really the kinds of questions that people ask, repeated questions that really are in need of a consult because we have no context for what they're asking except what they've chatted.
Right.
Let me see if there's any Wayfinder related to say. Well, what I'll do is I'll give you some of these and you can answer. But there's some very good feedback. Well, we're getting lots of questions now.
Well, if you'd like to answer them, no worries. I mean, I'll probably learn
now
from
we're
you
getting
too.
now
So
we're getting a bunch. I thought they'd all been exhausted. Vivian says an excellent presentation, Janet. Thank you. Makes applying so much easier. I'm in a situation where the future planner will help with my disabled sister and elderly mother. Thank you again.
oh, fantastic.
John Burns, I know John. Can you save your Wayfinder results to review or help share with someone you might be helping?
Yeah, definitely. So I can just share my screen again just to show you that quickly. So in the Wayfinder where remember where we had the dashboard, let me just add in something here. I'm just going to do this really quickly so that we can just going to really quickly so we can have something in the dashboard.
Yeah, you'll, I've given some other questions here. I suggest
Yep,
you continue to share.
sure. All right. So we have our dashboard here, and let's say you want to save what's here. You can either print it, and it'll print it like in a listing, and you can go to your printer, or you can download it, and it's going to give you this report where it'll list all of the benefits. But then at the end, it'll give you the same benefits with a little section in more detail on it, and notes if you wanted to make notes in a hard copy type version. Or you can save it, the session itself, where you copy the URL, and then you can email it to yourself, or you can email it to whoever you might be working with to create the dashboard. And that'll show up in an email where you can just click it and it'll take you right back to this list. So yeah, three different ways that you can save the results.
And someone wants to know the website for the RDSP calculator and also Wayfinder. Now you'll get the Wayfinder link in the email that is sent out that contains the recording.
Right, and here you can see here on the screen here, if you want to do like a little photo of it or write it down. The RDSP calculator URL is https://www.rdsp.com/calculator/ and that'll take you right to the calculator.
Lynn asks, are all the tools free?
Yes, all free. We don't charge anything for using them, saving them, or anything. And I should just bring up here so you can see. This is our Prosper Canada website. And we also have lots of resources here that are all free as well. There's publications. This lists all the tools where you can also see the link to get to the RDSP calculator and the future planning tool. And it also has resources if you're doing any kind of financial literacy. And then we have a learning hub as well, which you can search, and it has many different articles, all free to look at and to print. It's taking a bit of time to come up there. So yeah, lots of resources for you, and all free of charge.
Hammer asks, are there any benefits for the child who's over 18 and needs to attend day programs? Well, there's Passport if it's a developmental disability. Do you know of any day program? Well, obviously a person should go through Wayfinder and find out, but I'm not aware of any special funding for respite for people other than who have kids with developmental disabilities. I'd like to know more about respite programs for all the rest. That's only about a third of all my families.
Yeah, I'm not off the top of my head, but you could go, yeah, search the Wayfinder, see if it's in there.
Yeah. Leo says, hi, Ken. The ODSP recently rejected the client portion of my son's wheelchair replacement. Basically, ODSP won't cover any assistive devices, anything assistive devices did not cover. And in the past, of course, the ODSP has covered the 25% contribution. Last time around 5 years ago, ODSP picked up the client portion left over. Are you aware of any recent ODSP changes? No. I'd like to see the letter that says, no, we won't do it. Anything you hear verbally is useless. You know, it's just what somebody subjectively thinks or wishes. I've had managers of ODSP offices that I've explained certain things to that are completely correct. And they look at me and say, well, I just don't think that's right. Right? So, so unless you get it in writing, it may not be true. So I request that the answer to that question be put in writing. If it is, you can have an internal review, or you could even go to a social benefit tribunal appeal. Here's one just sec. Janet says, yes, tax filings are up to date. He claims rent and it is split between my husband and myself on our taxes. Janet, if we're talking about if you're a child and they're contributing towards shelter costs in the home, then clearly you're not in pursuit of profit. So therefore, you're not supposed to declare the income, and you also can't write off expenses. If you need more about that, go to my website and fill in the family evaluation form, and we'll send you the information that shows you what CRA says about that. Let's see here. Lots of nice accolades here, Janet. Thank you for setting this up. Extremely resourceful. Once approved for the disability credit, why do you have to renew every so many years? Do you want to respond to that? Do you want me to?
It really depends on the personal situation. So there are some, like for example, in the case of someone who has been diagnosed with dementia, there'll not be an expiry on it. So it'll be for a lifetime, but it depending on what the medical condition is, they might make it, renew after or reapply after 5 years, or so it really depends on what the medical condition is for which the DTC was approved.
And that's the rational reply. The irrational reply is there's often no reason. And Down syndrome is not going to change. It doesn't change at 18. But I've seen a number of these approvals where it expires at age 18. How stupid can this possibly be? That said, some slippage comes when the doctor fills out the T2201. You always have to control and review the completion of the T2201, and you have to review it after it's done and before it's sent to CRA. There is a box the doctor ticks in answer to the question, is the disability likely to change? And yes, no, unsure. And occasionally some people, especially with psychological mental health issues, the doctor is conservative, of course, and checks the unsure, and CRA says, oh, well, tell us again in 5 years, we're going to have this expire. But that said, since 1996, twice over those years, Canada Revenue has randomly sent out several 100,000 letters telling people that they no longer qualify, and if they think they should reapply. Now, how is this anything other than harassment and make work? So, I've always had to tell my staff and clients, you get answers to situate things. That doesn't mean they're rational answers. Okay, on a happier note, I know Nolene says, very interesting indeed. When is the next one? Thank you to both of you. I love that there's a template support letter to provide to the healthcare provider for the DTC. I assume this is free. I missed the beginning. Can you say? Oh, it's all right. Extremely timely to help my daughter and as I plan for her future. This is a fabulous resource, reflects an incredible amount of work. Marie-Laure asks, any timeline on when Wayfinder might list benefits available at a local level, such as the city level? Well, cities do provide some supports, like paying $1,000 for a pauper's funeral, but most of these supports are provincial, and then of course now with the possible disability benefit in June of next year, federal.
Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier, but we are going to be piloting including some municipal and local benefits, because that's been one of the consistent comments that we get is it would be great to see those in there. So we are going to be over the next 2 years piloting to see how we can best put those in and maintain them, because there's a lot.
Sure, that's true. Julius asks, if my son lives remotely, can we use gifts to him as tax deductions? No. Brenda, if you want to make an appointment, just go to the website, fill out the family evaluation form, and you'll be contacted. For disability service via Wayfinder, are most of them dependent upon passport funding? No. Passport is for respite. Brenda, you could contact the office and we'll be happy to talk to you. If you want to email, it's kevin@kpopelaw.ca. Here's an anonymous one. This is similar to the one we got last night. If we have resources to share that could be added and of help to others, who do we contact? Well, you contact Janet. Her email will be in our email, but it's jflynn@prospercanada.org. Are you okay? This is from Catherine. Are you okay if I share the session with Autism Support Group here in Ottawa? Certainly, Sharon. Catherine. An interesting comment here. I have a client in long-term care, heavily subsidized. She's 74, has dialysis and diabetes. If she gets more money from benefits, is this clawed back by the long-term care so she actually does not see any more of the funds herself? It shouldn't be. You know, if these are benefits of one sort or another that are available to individuals, shouldn't be. It's true that if a person's in, community living or Carrie's Place, supported environments, a lot of times the passport funding can also be given over to them if that's what you wish. But of course, the purpose of passport at the root of it is to provide respite for the parents, such as a personal support worker to help with the child when they're home on the weekends, this sort of thing. Brenda says, can a consult be done on a Zoom meeting? Certainly. We get perhaps one person every couple of weeks at the office these days. Michael says, I have a disabled adult child. I guess I should do this for myself and my child. Yes, you should. This is from Tony. I checked under housing, but I don't see information on supported living. How to get support for people to help living in their own homes. Is this just passport? No. Why only physical disabilities for overnight support? Good question. Yeah, that's kind of the flip side of passport being only for people with developmental disabilities. He's asking, well, if you got physical disabilities, why don't you get supports like that too? I mean, as everyone here knows, I expect, it's always the parents who at the best are the third shift. Kathy says, for municipal programs, contact Hamilton or Reach in Norfolk for child respite. Okay, thanks. How far back can you go to top up RDSP for grants and bonds? You can go as far back as 10 years. Of course, prior to age 18, it's based upon the household income. And then after 18, it's ODSP basically. So all the grants and bonds are then available. Prior to that, they may not be available. Does my disabled son need a will too? If he's competent, you could certainly do a will. You should definitely do powers of attorney. If he's not competent, then when he does pass on, it'll be what's called intestacy, no will. And then whatever his assets are, such as his RDSP, will pass by succession law, first to his parents, and then to his siblings, and then to their children, and then to other people. For sure, we'll forward this to this link. Someone who's anonymous attendee is quite knowledgeable. Keith says, most of my clients are seeing a reapplication of the DTC every 5 years. That's not my experience. It does certainly happen. Getting there. Lynn says, can I share your slides for free with families raising someone with a disability? Certainly. Anonymous says, if you're denied the disability credit and you reapply, do you have to have your doctor fill it out each time? Yes. Wills or trusts is the question. Is it on the website to assist in information? Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff on my website. Oh, here's a good one. Anne says, my daughter has applied for ODSP and is waiting to see if it's approved. If she does not get ODSP, can she still find benefits through Benefits Wayfinder? Take it away, Janet.
Yeah, definitely. Besides the ODSP, there could be other ones that she might be eligible for and which might not take as long to, from the end-to-end process of applying and receiving. So yeah, definitely take a look and see, if there's any that would apply for her.
Here's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Is it true that in 2026, parents can no longer be the account holder of their child's RDSP over the age of 18? I haven't heard anything about that. It is true that when the child turns 18, if you want to be the account holder, it's only if your child is not competent, and you have to reassure the bank or Mackenzie Financial or whatever. So to establish that the fact that you can continue to be the account holder after they're no longer a minor. But if they're not competent, then what you do is you have them sign a power of attorney, and you become an account holder based on the power of attorney. And in fact, what happened last year was the account holder eligibility was increased to allow siblings. Here's another Lisa. My daughter recently received a new ODSP worker. This worker wants to cut her diapers because she said the volume she received is not normal, it's too much. She has received this volume since she was 18. What can I do? Well, get it in writing. Don't just take her word for it. And then you can have an internal review. And if necessary, you can have a social benefit tribunal appeal, which may well result in an early resolution. Here's a common problem, and I'll close off here in a couple minutes, Janet. It's 1:13. What programs and supports exist for my adult child that has autism to live independently in their own home, shared home? Independent living, they limit to a few hours. If you need more than that, go into a group home. We don't want that. What can we do? It's a common problem. Certainly not the best for your child. I'm not aware of any support programs for independent or semi-independent living other than, family managed funding. You can seek out family managed funding. And sometimes there's other supports. Just about at the end. Mary says, what a wonderful presentation. We'll share this info with my son's agency where he lives. Can I make my other children guardians at the same time as myself? Yes, definitely. Here's one from Kathy. She, I think in a reply to a question, Haldeman allows for granny suites on property, good option for independence, and doesn't increase property taxes for autism adults. And that's my understanding too, that you don't get taxed on this kind of supportive addition. And I think that's about the end of that show, don't you think, Janet?
Yeah, no,
So,
that's great. Thank you, Ken.
do you have any final comments? I'd like to thank you for your excellent presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me and sharing our work that we've done with our partners and within Prosper Canada. And like I said, suggestions you have or any resources you want to share, please send them if we haven't covered them yet today, and be more than happy to get back to you. And thank you so much, Ken, and everybody.
Excellent. Take care, Janet.
Okay.
Goodbye, everyone.